On May 14th of 1948, there were two events that had the most impact on my life. The first one is one we all share. The State of Israel was born. The second one is a more personal one. That same day, a ship carrying my then 23-year-old grandmother arrived to the port of La Guaira, near Caracas in Venezuela. She was coming from England after spending there 10 years, living with a non-Jewish family that took her in after she fled her hometown in Poland. All of her family was murdered by the Nazis and their collaborators, except for two of her sisters whom she had come to visit in Venezuela. One of those sisters, actually, was the one who saved her life by forcing her, when she was only 13 years old, to board a kinder transport, one of the trains that carried Jewish children out of Europe, Eastern Europe, to a safe destination in the UK. It was during that visit in Caracas where she met my grandfather. They fell in love, married, and made a new life in a new country, in a new home, surrounded by the warmness and the kindness of the Venezuelan people. A few decades later, I was born. I was raised within the Venezuelan Jewish community, where I formed a very strong Jewish identity that has guided me ever since. At age 21, I decided to make Aliyah, fulfilling my childhood dream of becoming Israeli. There, I also became an immigrant myself, struggling hard to integrate in society. I worked in several jobs. I spent a lot of hours learning Hebrew. I served in the Israeli Defense Forces. There I met new family and new friends that are with me up until today. As a student at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, I came across another huge opportunity that I took in a heartbeat: to enroll in one of the most prestigious PhD programs in economics here in the United States. Perhaps being an immigrant myself and the story of my late grandparents is what motivated part of my own research during my dissertation and later on studying the huge benefits that immigrants and refugees can bring to an economy only if they're allowed to integrate and work. But you know, the story of my grandparents was not unique. Venezuela had received many, many other refugees and migrants from many places in the world, from Europe after World War II, and from Latin America, fleeing dictatorships. Actually, for a century prior to World War II, Venezuela actively welcomed foreigners and became the poster child in the region and the world on how to integrate its immigrants. This, to me, actually is one of the secrets on how Venezuela came to be one of the richest countries on its region and in the world. But sadly, today, that same country is going through a huge humanitarian catastrophe that is comparable only to countries undergoing war and conflict. Since 2014, nearly 4 million refugees have left Venezuela and are now throughout the continent. This crisis has the potential, sadly, to surpass the Syrian refugee crisis. During the past year, as an economist at the Brookings Institution here in Washington, D.C., I've been privileged to work hand in hand with governments in the region and with the Organization of American States in the very challenging task on thinking how to best achieve the integration of millions of my countrymates. In my numerous visits to the Venezuelan-Colombian border, I've met many of these refugees, all of them wonderful people, whom with just a little bit of help, they could really get ahead and reach their full potential. So over 70 years since my grandparents were welcomed by Venezuela as refugees, here I am, trying to reciprocate just a little bit by helping millions of my countrymates to integrate, as they are now the ones who are refugees and fleeing for survival. My Jewish identity, no doubt, has played a huge role in guiding me through this task. Two of our most important values are to love our neighbors as ourselves, ve'ahavta l'ra'acha kamocha, and to fix and repair the world, tikkun olam. But we also have pretty good precedents in terms of actions and not only words. You know, in 1977, the very first act of government that Menachem Begin did when he came to power was to allow into Israel 66 Vietnamese refugees who were fleeing war. We have never forgotten, Begin said, when explaining his action. The boat with 900 Jews that left Germany just a few weeks before the beginning of World War II, traveling from harbor to harbor, from country to country, and they were refused. Therefore, Begin said, it was natural that my first act as prime minister was to give these people a haven in Israel. And indeed, when I think about it, begging really verbalized what I've learned throughout my own journey as an immigrant myself, grandson of refugees, and as someone who's devoted most of my time to researching and studying the huge benefits that migrants can bring to an economy and to a country only if they're allowed to integrate. The natural thing for us to do as Jews, as humans, is to help and welcome those in need, always.